What's going on, guys? My name is Irvin, and today we're doing Test Out Lab on Chapter 1. This is one of the easier ones, and this is basically an introductory of what we will be seeing in the further chapters along the way. So here, once you click on your lab, we're going to have a scenario on the left-hand side and the tasks that we must complete to get 100% on this lab. Now, if you are familiar with this, you can just go ahead and hit this one here and start your lab so you can get a little bit much more room to work with, to be honest. I do appreciate that extra space, but for the sake of this video, we're just going to go ahead and roll through our scenario and roll through our test. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and read this scenario. Go ahead and do so at your own time, but I am going to go ahead and more or less summarize and read what our steps are. So we are to basically connect a whole office setup here with a monitor, computer, keyboard, mouse, and that's it. Make sure it turns on and make sure it works. So to get started, let's go ahead and click on our Office to set up right here and click on Hardware. Once you do that, just give it a second or two to start loading all the things that we need, and here they are. Cool, before we start, cool little things that I like about this workspace is that yes, this is a workspace. All of this area is your workspace. And what I mean by all is that you can zoom in or zoom out as much as you want, as much as you can. Now, sometimes that will be necessary because you will stack upon stack upon stack, whole bunch of input devices that you will work on. One thing that I like to do is try to set up everything right next to the computer or to the device that I'm working with. And I'll show you what I mean here in just a little bit. Also, you have this front, back, motherboard, and driver base. So if you have, for example, this computer here, you will be able to see the back of it, see the inside of it if you, of course, need to, and of course the driver base as well. For the moment, we will only be working with the front and the back. So our first scenario is here is add the monitor to Office 2. Pretty simple. Here on the left-hand side, we have a shelf. Pretty self-explanatory. This is the shelf that we keep all our equipment in. So the first thing is we click on here where it says monitors. We click and drag, and you drop it down. And this is our monitor right here. Now, all the connections, all the ports are in the back, and that's what we're going to need to go ahead and see. So click on your monitor and then click on the back button. We'll do the same thing for our computer. Click on the computer and then click the back to expose the connections. All right, so here we go. Next, we're going to use our HDMI cable to connect to the monitor to the computer. So let's go ahead and go over cables on our shelf. Click and drag your connection. And what I like to do, something nifty about TestOut, is if you click and drag and you hover over the selected and the correct port, it'll do it for you. And down here, you can see that it's connected to the monitor, because if it's unconnected, it'll tell you that it's unconnected. Pretty self-explanatory. Now, if you click and drag over a port that does not belong to, such as a USB port, for example, it would not like it. It shows the box in red, but it gives you another opportunity to try until you get it correctly. Now, if you've exhausted all what you thought was right, I just suggest, just for practice, hover over every single one of them until you find the correct one. You can also zoom in, toggle with it a little bit, and just find the connections that you were working for, or you were working with. Here, you'll see that this is the one that we're needing, and that's the one we will be working on. So let's go ahead and zoom in or zoom out depending on what you need. Today, we're just going to go ahead and zoom out. I'm going to click on our selected component, the one that's not connected, click and drag. Apologize. Drop my mouse there for a second. There we go, and it shows connected. Beautiful. Next, we're going to do our AC power cable. Now, something a little nifty about this one as well. As you notice, the ends on both sides are different. So if you click and drag over the right connection, it'll tell you which one of these two would you like to connect. And again, you can choose the wrong one, but it will not let you. You can choose the right one, and it'll connect it for you. Next, click and grab your other connection, and of course connect it to the electrical outlet. Once that's done, we have a couple more steps to go, which is just connecting our peripherals or our input devices. We'll do that. Click our mouse, and we'll do it as close to the computer as possible. And this will be a little bit relevant here in just a second when we connect our keyboard. So click on unconnected for the USB port, over on another USB port right there, and it connected it. Beautiful. And this is what I mean. Click and drag. And you see how all of this space is just used by one simple component. Now, you can just click and drag and go all the way back, click that one, click whatever device you're working on, and then finally do it here. This is why I like to have it as close as possible, because I'm going to need to work with it as close as possible, which is why I like to do it that way. Now, use the click on that USB, click and drag on the port, and you have successfully connected it. And now we are missing only two things. One is to turn on our monitor and then to turn on our computer. So let's go ahead and do so. Let's click on our computer and then click on front. We'll do the same for our monitor. We'll click on front. A little too far out, apologize. So let's go ahead and click it. There it is, exactly as we suspected because it's getting no signal. Now let's turn on our computer. Clicking the power button. And what we should expect is just like a regular computer it would load like this on a Windows environment. This is what we get. Now let's just wait for it to load a little bit. Beautiful, there it is. And this actually works like a regular computer would, just like that. Now to finish the lab, to make sure to see if you did everything correctly, top right hand corner of your lab, it'll say score lab. You want to click on that, and yes, you want to click on score again. Cool little thing about TestOut is if you missed one of them, of course it will not have the pass check mark, green check mark, but it will actually have a red cross or a red X uh, in the form of a circle. And down here in the explanation, it'll tell you what you did wrong, and it'll explain how you can correct it. That's it for this video, guys. I hope this tutorial was of some use to you guys. You have a wonderful day. We'll catch you on the next one.